The Skull Collector Barbarian has just come to console, so let's check it out. We're going to go level by level, combat tutorial, and all the items you need to make this build work. And of course at level 1 we are starting with the Barbarian. This gives you Rage and Unarmored Defense. So while not wearing armor, you add your Constitution modifier to your armor class. While wearing heavy armor, impedes your Rage. You also get Simple Weapon, Martial Weapon, Light, Medium, Armors, Proficiencies, and Shield Proficiency. Now for your ability points, there are two ways you can do this. If you are respeccing at the end of the game, you want to bump your strength all the way down to 8. Probably do something akin to this. This is going to be the setup I am using. The reason being is we are going to be using the Gauntlets of Hill Giant Strength. This will boost your strength to 23. If you're doing this game from the start, then strength to 16, constitution to 16, dexterity to 14. That's how you're going to want to play it. But for us, because we have the ability to, we can sort of play around with these. We can put our stuff up like this. Lots of fun options. Choice is really yours. So this is going to be my playthrough, and again, as we go through our feats, I will tell you what to do if you are starting from the beginning of the game. Now the reason we're taking Dex is this will help you with your Constitution and your AC, and your AC and your Initiative. Constitution will help with your Health Pool and your Armor class. Now for your skill proficiencies, take whatever you feel like, and that brings us to Barbarian level 2, which gives us Danger Sense. So you sense when things aren't as they should be, you get advantage on dexterity saving throws against traps, spells and surfaces, you gain this benefit and you can't be blinded or incapacitated. And a Reckless Attack, you get advantage on your attack rolls, but enemies also have advantage against you. Barbarian level 3 lets us pick our specialisation, and we're going with the Soul Collector. So amassing a collection from the slain, the Skull Collector's belief in the power that remains has led to an isolated but enriched path. With spiritual connection to the fallen, the Skull Collector can draw upon the remnant power exhibited within the skulls of the collected. So this gives you a soul binding charge. You can use the soul binding feature and have gained an additional charge. Collecting skulls, the journey to conquer the most powerful warrior has begun. Armor increased by 1. We get Soul Reaver, so rips a portion of the enemy's soul as they expire. Restores 1 soul essence on a melee weapon or unarmed killing blow. Soul Essence, basic skill resource for Skull Collectors. And we get Infernal Embers 2 and the Spectral Flame. We also gain Fury of the Fallen. Driven by the fury of countless souls who still thirst for vengeance, the Skull Collector enters a trance-like rage, the cries of the fallen warriors fueling their strength. Deal 2 extra damage with melee and improvised weapons and throwing. The spiritual nature of this skill does not block spellcasting. Gain resistance to physical damage and advantage on strength, saving throws and checks. And Speak with Dead. Barbarian level 4 gives us our first feat as well as Soul Perception, so again a +2 bonus to attack rolls, initiative rolls and perception checks. And for our ability score improvement, we are going to take that Constitution to 18. Barbarian level 5 brings us our extra attack. We get our fast movement, so our movement speed is increased by 3 meters while not wearing heavy armor. We get a soul binding charge, as well as all the other stuff we got previously. Barbarian level 6 brings us an additional rage charge and a wound closure. When downed, automatically stabilize at the start of the turn, making the Skull Collector a pretty tanky barbarian, more so than they already are. Barbarian level 7 gives us Feral Instinct, so you've honed your instincts to the utmost degree, +3 bonus to initiative and can't be surprised. And Wraith's Retaliation. When struck by an enemy, you can unleash a swift counterattack with Vengeful Strike, dealing -1 damage and 4 to 14 psychic damage. The reason it says -1 damage is it's based on strength. Because we're using the Gauntlets of Hill Giant Strength, this is based on that, it's going to be a +6, so bear that in mind. If you are playing from the start of the game and you took your strength to 16 and then 18 with the last feat, then it would be a +3 or a +4. Barbarian level 8 gives us our next feat, as well as another soul binding charge. Now for this one, ability score improvement. If you have your strength at 18, you can bump it to 20. Because we're respeccing, Constitution 18 to 20. Barbarian level 9 gives us Brutal Critical. You train to strike swift and true. When you land a critical hit, you roll an extra damage die, as well as the normal additional critical dice. And Spirit of the Warrior. Even as mortal weapons swing wide, the ethereal guardians weave through the fabric of fate, guiding the strikes of their chosen, ensuring that no blow is ever truly missed. When you miss with a weapon attack, you can make another weapon attack for free. Barbarian level 10 brings us the Vengeful Shadows, so when an entity enters your attack range, the spectral warriors of the past surge forth, allowing you to strike them as if you guided by an unseen hand. Barbarian level 11, Relentless Rage. Once per short rest, if you drop to 0 hit points while enraged, you will regain 1 hit point instead of being downed. So not only do we have our Relentless Rage, we also have our Wound Closure, 2 stackable things. We also get Spectral Fury. So when the user attacks, the very essence of vengeance ignites within, granting the user a surge of wrath for 2 turns. And finally, Barbarian level 12, our final feat, another soul binding charge, and Mortal Reminder. We land a critical hit against a creature. That creature and any nearby enemies must succeed a wisdom saving throw or become frightened. A great feature. Now we have one more feat, and what I would do here, two options. Great Weapon Master, we are using a two-handed weapon. This will mean that you can turn on a solid 10 extra damage at the cost of a -5 attack roll, and if you kill a creature with your normal attacks, it means with your bonus action you could strike again. Your other option would be Savage Attacker, which is essentially when you make a melee weapon attack, you roll your damage dice twice and you take the highest result. Kind of depends on what you want to do here. I personally like Great Weapon Master in this case. Okay, let's go over our equipment, and we're going to start with the Bone Spike Helmet. Fury in the Marrow. When you rage, hostile creatures in a 3-meter radius must succeed a wisdom saving throw or take 2 to 8 psychic damage. They take half damage on a save, so they're basically getting damage for you raging, which is perfect. And we get Intimidation +2. For a cloak, I really like the Flesh Melter Cloak, 1 to 4 acid damage when anyone hits you within melee range. You could also swap this for the one that causes burning if you wanted to, or the Cloak of Protection. For boots, I really like the Boots of Genial Striding, unimpeded by difficult terrain. Now, as I said previously, we are using the Gauntlets of Hill Giant Strength. If you don't want to use these, or you are using a Barbarian and a Fighter, and you want to put these on the Fighter, perfectly fine. In that case, you're going to want to take Helldust Gloves. Weapon attacks do an initial 1 to 6 fire damage and strength saving throw +1. So just bear that in mind. Either Gauntlets of Hill Giant Strength and put your strength all the way down to 8, or strength at 20 and Helldust Gloves. Choice is really yours. For armour, again there are two options. I personally like the Graceful Cloth. Reason being is we get +2 to our dexterity, bringing our dex up to 18. We also get +1 to our dexterity saving throws, and jump distance is increased by 1.5 meters. If you wanted to, you could switch this out if I come all the way down here for the more monk-like robes that I can't quite remember the name of. Let's see if we can find them. The Vest of Soul Rejuvenation. Reason being, obviously, if we succeed a saving throw, we regain some hit points, but armor class +2. But personally, I really like the extra dex from the Graceful Cloth, and I think it just looks cool. For a ring, we're going to take the Killer's Sweetheart. So when you kill a creature, your next attack roll will be a guaranteed critical hit once per long rest. The Ring of Regeneration, heal 1 to 4 hit points at the start of your turn. Nice way of tanking yourself up. The Moondrop Pendant, so when we have 50% or less hit points, we don't provoke opportunity attacks. You could also use the Surgeon's Subjugation Amulet, which means when you land a critical hit, you can paralyze a target. And for a weapon, I love the Sword of Chaos. High damage, has some necrosis on it, which I think fits this Barbarian perfectly. And on a hit, we regain 1 to 6 hit points, once again helping us tank the battlefield. So that is this build. Let's go jump into combat and show it off. Okay, you'll see we're in combat, and we're actually joined in the turn combat order with our lovely rogue here. So it's time for us to start picking a fight. And how we're going to do that is we're going to come in close. We'll come to like here, and we're going to rage. First thing you always do as a barbarian. So let's get our rage going. Fury of the Fallen, and you see he took 4 damage just from us raging. This now means we can start throwing out some attacks. And we have 2 attacks if you remember if we just do our standard ones. So there's our first attack, big 33 damage. You see we healed 5 because we hit with the Sword of Chaos. And then once again, one more attack, we heal up. Okay, you see the enemy missed, so we actually get to swing at him there, and you see we did 32 points of free damage. And that's our turn again. So let's kill this enemy. There you go, you see we have triggered Executioner. Now, because we've done that, we not only have our bonus action for this, but we can come in here, turn on our Executioner thanks to our Killer's Sweetheart ring, and there you go, a massive critical hit. Now, we've run out of attacks, but because we have Great Weapon Master and we killed an enemy on our normal turn, we get one more shot. Just like that. And you'll see we landed another critical hit. And thanks to our amazing distance, we can actually start closing down some enemies by moving in close. Now what we'll see, because we have our class abilities, we have gained 7 turns of Wrath, plus 1 bonus to damage with melee weapons for every turn this condition has remaining. Extra damage. You'll see enemies are missing us with their attacks, and that's what this is so good at. You build up your Wrath, get all the free damage, and you start pumping out some attacks. So let's just get this fight over and done with. See, big attacks like this, and because we have murdered them, we can come up here. Great weapon master, turn this on, get our next attack. Just like that, and again another critical hit. And you'll see they also triggered frightened. So again, you just swing for the fences, we get to go reckless to get the advantage. Again, this does mean the enemy has advantage on us, but it is what it is. And because we didn't quite kill them, we can try and shove him. And there you go. And again, we just get to start finishing up the fight, healing ourselves up while we deal all the damage we need to. And let's finish the fight, just like that. Now, that was the build guide in itself. You might be wondering how the skulls come into this. Well, certain enemies you can loot will have skulls. You can also buy them from some vendors, so let me go find one for you. Here we go, this is one of them. So you can buy these or you can pick them up from enemies. Please note, if you've killed an enemy and you download this app and respec, those will not be there. I just tested it with Orin and I tested it with Savrok. Both their skulls are not on their corpses, so bear that in mind. But this is what we're talking about. So we're going to buy that skull. And we'll give it to our lovely barbarian, Varana. And we come in here. And we combined with the skull because we've got some soul charges because we've murdered some enemies. So this will give you a bunch of features, and you might have seen it shows you what those features are. Now because we're bound with ice, you'll see we now have ice powers, and this is things like glacial ice, where we can add damage to our sword, water slam, we have things like path of ice. So if we do that in front of us, let's just do it in a direction this way. Just like that, you'll see just how much we did.
Sort of fight.
Unfortunately, we do have another fight, but that's okay, because it just means we can show up some more stuff. Okay, so as we can see, it's now our turn, and we still have our ice powers. Because you've used them, you see the little red stars at the bottom. They are disappearing based on how many they cost. You can see it's an action plus a soul essence, but we can do things like water slam. And there you go, see we made a massive critical hit, and then we still start throwing out some attacks, just like that. And it's a lot of fun stuff, like, you can really mix and match this. So what I'm going to do is, in the description, I will place the link to the mod on Nexus Mods, and under there it tells you where you can get all of these skulls in Act 1, Act 2 and Act 3, as well as sort of what powers they do. So that'll be in the description, but I really hope you have enjoyed this mod. It's a really nice way of killing enemies, collecting all the soul essences, and then infusing yourself with loads of different powers and whatnot. So if you have, please drop this episode a like, it'd be so helpful, and let me know in the comments what differences you would do with your builds, with your weapons, your items, all that fun stuff. If you're not already, please subscribe to the channel for more. I've got more Baldur's Gate 3 guides, I've got more guides for things like Dragon Age the Veilguard and Path of Exile 2 and all sorts. Regardless, I really do sincerely hope you've enjoyed this video, and if so, hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.